Good morning and welcome back, everybody, to the Inside Edge podcast. I am Garrick Schilling, as always, joined by my co-host, Coach Joe Clark. How we doing, Coach?
I'm doing great this morning. How are you?
Fantastic. Today we have a very special guest provided by you. Our guest today posted a 28-6-3 record in net during his 98-99 campaign that saw the Maine Black Bears host their second national championship trophy in their school's history. He would go on to spend 16 years across 8 professional hockey leagues before returning to his alma mater in 2016, where he has spent the last decade coaching in and around the net. Please join me in welcoming Alfie Michaud to the Inside Edge podcast. How we doing, brother?
Hey, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
yeah.
Good to see your smiling face here, Alfie.
Yeah, you too, man.
Yep.
Always good to see your face,
Yep. Yep. Hey,
So,
so for the record, it's Michaud or Michaud? Michaud.
Okay.
All right.
yeah.
There you go. All right.
I I
Correct.
only
Manitoba,
had
right? Canadians. It's a little different.
Irish.
That's all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
a little bit of an accent on it. I had one experience with the last name, and they gave the hard D, so I was just
Yeah, that's
going
fine.
with instinct there.
Everybody's
But
different. Mainers pronouncing Miss you,
Right.
you know?
okay,
Right.
Yeah.
Michaud.
Like,
Right.
it's
That's how I
amazing.
got it.
I'll tell them 10 times over. It's still, they ain't changing. So that's just
Yeah.
the way it is,
They're
you
set in
know?
their ways.
so
Yeah.
I usually like to ask because these are always fun answers. How did you get to know Coach?
I got to know Coach just through Maine hockey, right? Like he coached at Maine, and we have the same mutual friend in Grant Stanbrook. Grant was my coach for my 3 years at Maine, and he's a mentor to this day. And I know he speaks highly of Coach Joe. And then we just kind of the Black Bears, they just kind of they stay together. So that's the thing, just through
Thanks.
that connection. And then yeah, we bumped into each other. I know his nephew, Ben Gray, up in Maine, runs a great minor hockey program, the Maine Moose, that my daughter's been a part of for, God, she's probably 8 years or so. So yeah, there's a lot. Like, you'll find, like, Maine is much like where I'm from, Manitoba. It's like a small place, and kind of everybody knows everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big family. It really is, and it gets bigger every year. But yeah, it seems like I've known you forever. Really.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, like, it's the same thing. It's yeah, it's just you knew the name, but then obviously, when we first met and that, bet you we probably haven't met in person. Like, the first time I met you wasn't crazy long ago, but
yeah.
I knew who he was. I had talked to him on the phone. That's usually how that works. Like, when you're networking or when you're trying to grow your craft, you're always reaching out to people, and I'm that guy. Like, I'm gonna call someone even if I don't know them. Chances are I'll call and ask a question if I need an answer or I don't know something. So and it was probably I remember I called Joe because we had a big goaltender here at Maine, was our third goaltender, Steven Mundinger, and he was a bigger guy, he's 6'7", and I called Joe. I was like, "Hey, any chance, like, I want to pick Connor Hellebuck's brain, And Joe's like, "Yeah, absolutely. Give me a number." I called Connor. He was so gracious with his time, kind of told me the pros and cons of a big guy and how he was coached. And then you just take it back to your goalies, and try to help them. So,
Yep. Yeah. Mundinger was a German kid, right?
yeah, well, he's from, it's like, it's not that he's from Long Island, but his dad, yeah, he's got the German. He's still grinding it out.
Really?
He sent me an Instagram post. He got his 100th SPHL win. So, kid loves it,
Yeah.
man. He loves it.
That's
He's
that's awesome.
good for him, man. He's still playing hockey, and yeah, he's down there loving it, and he's a fan favorite. So
That's
that's all you
awesome.
want. You want these kids to move on, and just keep playing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. You can only play for so many years. Cash in while you can.
Yeah,
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 that's so sick. Coach mentioned off the hop that I was a goalie. It's very generous of him to say that. I didn't put on skates until I was a freshman in high school. I grew up in Arizona for the good chunk of the part of my life where kids start to play competitive hockey, and I was playing basketball, and then I moved to New England when I was 12 years old, and that kinda
yeah,
changed everything, and,
yeah.
I played goalie for 3 years, but what I find the most fascinating is within the sport. Like I said, I grew up watching my dad play baseball, and there are connections within that sport. But hockey is so different because it really is like a brotherhood. Like even you said you hadn't met Coach Clark in person until you had talked to him on the phone a few times. That's the kind of brotherhood and relationships that hockey has. It's very different. And one of the questions I like to ask everyone that we have on here is, when did you first lace up skates? When did you realize that this was like a lifelong hobby or sport or passion for you?
Uh, geez, yeah, I had him in little, little, like where I lived in a little small mill town in the middle of Canada, Selkirk, Manitoba, and we had a little, like within the town of like 10,000. The fire department used to flood rinks at every school yard, right? So all the elementaries, there's I think 5 or 6 of them in town. So I lived literally, we would skate down the road because in the winter here, like it would be thick, kind of snowy ice. So you could walk from my house right across into the schoolyard, and where the rink was flooded was on the close side where all the houses were, kinda, and, we'd walk, but, yeah, I'm sure I was doing that. I remember doing it at a young age, like, I can remember probably 6, but I'm sure I was skating earlier, you know? I don't think it was skating then, probably ankle bending, ankle burning around, but, yeah, it's
That's
kinda what
awesome.
you do up here, you know? It's just it is like, I'm back in Manitoba right now, and you forget, like, hockey is just part of the culture. It's the fabric of Canada, you know? It's like my brother's upstairs right now, like, if hockey ain't on, they're watching curling, like, the world championship curling's on, and he's talking about every shot, and
That's
I'm
awesome.
just shaking my head, like, he knows every girl on every team of every country, and that's just kinda Canada right there, right? Hockey and
Yeah,
curling, so it's
yeah,
pretty funny.
yeah. That's
That's
awesome.
great. Are you an only child, or do you have siblings as well that got you into
Yeah, I
that type of
had,
thing?
so I had 2 younger siblings. I had a brother and sister that are about 2.5 years younger than me, but I grew up in a big family. My dad comes from, like, a family of 12 or 13, and my
Phew.
mom comes from a big family, so I had tons of cousins around, and then where I lived in Selkirk was it's kinda my parents grinded it out, like, low rental, kinda duplex places, and we had tons of kids in the neighborhood, like, actually, like, to this day, the older people, if they were to talk about where I grew up, it's called Sesame Street. Like, it's referred as
Wow.
Sesame Street where I live. Like, it's
That's
like,
awesome.
"Oh, where'd you live?" It's like, "Oh, I grew up on Sesame Street." It's like, "Oh, really?" Oh, because it was
Oh,
just
that's awesome.
tons of kids, and we all played sports or made up sports to play, so I grew up in a really cool upbringing that way. Because you don't know it at the time, but when you're 8 years old, playing something or trying to be, yeah, I'm watching my uncles, my dad's brothers, like, I have one uncle that's probably 10 years older than me, but I'd be trying to run with him, I'm 8 or 9, and he's 18, 19 with all his so I grew up playing against older kids, watching older kids compete, and everything was a competition, right? You're doing something, so as far as an environment to grow up in on, like, just helping you along, like, I couldn't have grown up in a better environment for sure.
That's great.
That's so awesome. I mean, that's what, uh, I just had my first kid back in August, and that's all I want for him is like a community like that where he's, surrounded by kids that are playing sports and want to push and challenge each other, but recognize it's a game at the same time and don't take it too seriously because I mean those are the best times of your life playing in the
Yeah, oh,
driveway
yeah,
or on
it's
the
like
pond or whatever.
yeah, I drove back and kinda through, and I was like, it seems so big, when you're a kid, and then I drive by, I was like, "Man, it wasn't very big," but
Tiny.
we ran around,
Because it
and
was your whole world.
yeah, oh, yeah, and then it's like it was literally a neighborhood where, at 5 o'clock, the window would slide open, and you'd hear the parents yelling at kids to come in to eat quick, so
Oh,
we'd all run home, at 5, and you'd eat quick, and then you were gone out the door playing, so it's,
That's a
yeah,
great way to grow up. The only way to grow
yeah,
up. Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely different because where I grew up in Maine, we're out in the twiggies and the sticks, so my kids, they didn't have that because it's funny. I tell them stories and they think it's so cool that like we literally went outside in the morning and never came back till nighttime kind of deal, but it was like I have 3 kids and it's just them and their cousin lives down the road, so there's 4 of them, right? Whereas there's literally like 20 of us,
Yep.
right? Like at least having crabapple fights, having like mud fights. We all go fishing together at the river and next thing you know, we're having mud fights and just, so it's just definitely a different upbringing now than from, 40 years ago, that's
For
Yeah,
sure.
it's funny.
Even just that area that sorry, coach, go ahead.
No, well, you talk about how life was when you're 8, 10, 12 years old, and with the goalies that we work with that are get to the point where they're so stressed and worried and worried and worried and worried. And a line I throw at a lot of them, I said, you know what we really need to do is you need to go back and remember what it was like to play when you were 11 years old and try to keep the fun in it. And I mean, that's a big part of it. And if you can conquer that, you're going to be okay. But easier said than done when you're trying to make it.
sure.
Oh,
Sure.
but still, if you can conquer that and just keep the fun in it, don't take yourself too seriously. But remember what it was like when you were 10 years old and what a blast you had with your
Yeah, and
buddies.
that's something I try to remind when we talk as a group, goalie group with our goalies, like we talk like, hey man, like break it down. Even the simplicity part, like we'll break it down to that. Like, all right, I need you to tell me what you would tell 10-year-old Albin Boya about, like what are you gonna tell him? Well, my stance wasn't very good or my ski, and it's my gloves were low. It's like, okay, well that's usually what it is. It always boils back to the basics, right? Basics as a little kid having fun, the basics in all your fundamentals in goaltending or whatever position it is. It's usually always the basics that get messed up,
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's funny you say that because we're always kind of preaching, like, just go back to when you're a kid,
Yep. Yep.
chances are when you're a kid, you were taught the basics, good stance, good stick, good hands, all that stuff that you need. It's crazy to think as a pro or a college athlete, like if that stuff goes, man, you're going to look like a sloppy 14-year-old goalie again,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
It's been crazy to me growing up, and watching just and especially being able to talk to Connor recently, like, how important that part is, the maintaining the fun part of the sport, because you see guys that make it to the show, and it's clearly a talent thing. They were gifted, touched by God, whatever you wanna say, at a certain age to play this sport professionally. But then there are the guys, like, when we talked to Helly, like, I fully believe that he took a phone call and wanted to talk about the goaltending position because he is as much of an athlete, he is such a nerd about the position of goaltender, and he enjoys talking about the nuance and breaking down situations, and, he's just it's so refreshing when you've watched something for so long to find out that someone that plays the sport is just as obsessed with it as you are.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool to see. Actually, I told Joe I went and watched him 2 nights ago, live. So I went to the Jets game. They played Nashville, so it was kind of cool to see him. And I'm sitting in my seat, and I'm like, that's the best goalie in the world right now. He, 2 Vezinas, a Hart, and now an Olympic gold. And just to watch his just the way he does things, how he stays in it. And then the other guy's like an Olympian also. So and then just to see the two contrasts, the two difference between the goaltenders, and then I got on a call last night with Jeremy with Swayman. I coached him in college, so we got talking about that and just it's much like kind of like this. The goalie guys, I feel like they're just in tune to that stuff and they want to talk about it, and we geek out and talk goalie.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I think the real good ones are just that's what they want. They're obsessed with it. So they
Yeah. Yeah.
want to
And
get a little better every time.
I
So
think that I mentioned this to both of you guys at some point in the last month when I was in Winnipeg a month and a half ago and spent some time with Connor. And I'm sitting up in the stands watching him practice, and he is having a blast, and he's hooting and hollering, he's chirping guys and just having fun, old-fashioned fun, like an 11-year-old, I swear. And I really think they were in the middle of an 11-game winless streak, right? A 3-game losing streak in the National League is tough. A 7-game is unbearable. An 11-game, all right, use your imagination. So, but he still has that mindset. And we talked about it, I think, a night or two later, and he did say, he says, the day, a little easier for him because he's made it. He's got a contract, doesn't have to worry about too much, but he still has extremely high standards for himself. But I think he finally has conquered the realization that he has to go enjoy what he's doing. And it's not misery, there's no stress, and what happens, happens. But it's a great lesson for younger goalies trying to make it. Like, this is really a very true thing. You got to conquer that mindset of try not to worry about stuff. And that's way easier said than done, right, Alfie? And I know you know that. And
Sure.
I know
Yeah.
you've coached so many goalies at Maine and elsewhere. And have you ever come across a guy that has maybe come close to conquering that or going down that road?
Yeah, the kid in Boston's starting to figure it out, I think. Jeremy's really you watch him play, like, he's got a smile on his face. That's not to say that he hasn't gone through it. I know last year was a tough year for him. Um, but he's just trying to embrace the moment, right? That's the whole battle. I know that's a talk him and I have had since day one. Just live in the moment. For me, this is the most important thing in my life is being on this call with you, Stu, right? And then when I hang up, guess what? My focus is gonna go to something else, and that took me a long time to get there, as an athlete, but that's kind of how I try to live it. There's pros and cons to that, because you can be blindsided by some stuff because I'm not really looking ahead. It's like it comes from Grant's teachings, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
how
exactly.
can you be good at something if you're worried about stuff down the road, kind of? I always ask Grant, what made you a good assistant coach? His response is, I never chased. I never chased for a head coaching job. My job was to be the best darn assistant coach at the University of Maine as possible. And that was his only focus. And that's kind of my focus, is to be the best darn goalie coach I can possibly be here at the University of Maine. Right. And I think I think Jeremy's starting to figure it out. We had a good talk last night. We hadn't talked in a while. We talked during the Olympics. Um, but then when he got back, it was just such a whirlwind that we didn't really, we exchanged texts or snaps, but yesterday was the first time we really talked. And yeah, he's just trying to enjoy the moment and
Good.
really lock in when he's at the rink. Um, in those games, trying to have an attitude of gratitude. You'll hear him say a lot. And then just enjoy the moment. Like, he gets to play hockey for a living, and then when hockey's done, he's doing a really good job of detaching himself from that and going home to his fiance, and he's got a little one on the way, and do that stuff, right, and get away from it. And I think it's really healthy, because I wasn't like that when I played. I was obsessed with it, but definitely when you get kids, it changes things. And I know when we had our first kid, I was probably 28. I think I was like 28. That's when it just, like, I got so grounded by that. And then you realize, like, okay, you get to do this for a living. It's awesome. But at the end of the day, my daughter is what truly, truly matters, and yeah, and it just puts you in a different spot. So I was able to, that's not to say I didn't leave the rink mad on a loss and sit at home and pout about it. But then when I'd look at her, it'd bring you back to earth really quick and realize, like, she's the most important thing, and my wife's the most important thing at the time.
I
And
only I only smirk because 8 months ago, that would have been, like, "Oh, yeah, that's sweet, nice," and I would have smiled and moved along, but n now having had my own kid and talking to Connor, he actually mentions how much that helps with, like, the leaving it at the rink type of mentality
Sure.
where
Yeah,
I mean,
for
my
sure.
god, man, that's gotta be so night and day for guys that struggle with that type of thing, and hell,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
mentioned it was such a big deal for him.
And
Yeah.
younger goalies too, they're not down that road yet. So think when they're if they're in college or juniors or AAA or whatever it is, they think that they have to 24/7 dive into goaltending. And I relay the story that Helly, you know, just a month and a half ago, he said, I've gotten really good at when I get to the rink, when I walk through the doors, I flip the switch, right? And then and he's got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. But he said, but when I leave the rink, the switch is flipped the other way. And I live my life. And I try to preach that to these kids, like, go do stuff with your friends, and then go play golf, go play wiffle ball, whatever it's going to be. But you can't be obsessed because at some point you're going to get burned out of it. When you when you get on the ice, you have to be hungry. You have to be hungry because if you're not hungry, you're gonna get burned out and it's just gonna be no fun anymore. You gotta live your life, do things. So when I watch Helly's a great dad. Like he's a phenomenal dad. He plays with his kids. He wrestles with them. He just plays games with them. And he's a really, really good dad. And he, you know, he's gone a lot, but when he's home, he wants to make sure he gives his wife a break because because God bless her, she needs it, right? So
Yeah, they
the
all do.
balance,
It
right? That
yeah,
balance is
it's crazy what, you know, people don't realize, like, the normal the schedules that these guys have and what they go through and, but, like, they don't realize, like, when a guy's on a 7 game, you know, 14-day road trip, and then they get home and they're home for now but, like, what they don't understand is that those guys got obligations too, not only to their wife and kids, but, like, I know just recently, like, Jeremy, they were gone somewhere for a while, and he came back, and, like, 2 days later, they're doing a gala at nighttime, right? They're doing a Bruins function, and, like, they do stuff too, right? And so it's not like, everybody just think, "Ah, they just play hockey and they get paid a lot of money." Like, it's a grind, man. It's
yeah,
like I
a
just got
tremendous grind.
a
Yeah,
taste of that, and it's like, you go play 7 and 14 nights on the road, and then you're flying back 3 time zones, like, it it's tough, and I couldn't even imagine this schedule, like, I just it came up yesterday that the Stanley Cup playoffs start in 30 days from now, and I was looking, I was like, "The Bruins still have 14 games left."
yeah.
And every
Yeah,
single
yeah,
one is a playoff game.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're in the playoffs now, really,
yeah,
I mean,
but
you
it's
don't
like
you don't need to tell me that. I knew you worked with Swayman before I knew your name, I promise you.
yeah, but
That's
it's
how
like
sick it goes in my household, and I'm
that's
trying
good,
not to
that's
pass that
awesome.
affliction on to my child.
Yeah,
But
it's
I did
okay.
wanna ask, Alfie, how did you end up at Maine? Because I'm always interested in those stories as well.
Yeah, I just, honestly, like, probably like most prairie kids, we didn't know anything about college hockey, at least I didn't. I grew up, loved baseball, played baseball, played hockey. It was kinda that, you know, baseball in the summer, hockey in the winter, and then, yeah, I was gonna actually start talking to some D3 school. I'm assuming they're D3 schools in baseball when I was, 16, 17. Um, and, yeah, that's when I heard about college, but yeah, the 'cause schools start talking to me in junior, and I played out in Saskatchewan. "Alfie, do you wanna go?" And it's like, "Yeah, no, I'm good." Like, I had 0 interest. The thought was junior, Western League, NHL,
Yep.
kinda that was the route around where we grew up, so I thought that would be the deal. I remember one coach, it was a Bowling Green coach come and saw me, and, "Alfie, you ready to go?" And it's like, "No." "And what are you gonna do if you don't make the NHL?" "I'll go back to the steel mill and work with my dad." It was like no big deal, It's like, I had my life planned out, kinda knew what I was gonna do, go play in the NHL. If it doesn't work out, you just go back, work at the steel mill, you know?
I love how many Canadian guys you hear with that type of story. like,
Yeah,
that are either in and around the game still that are like, "I just plan to work at the family shop if it didn't work out."
yeah, and that's kinda how it was, and then, I actually said no to a bunch of schools, and, uh and then, my head coach at the time, he's actually the coach of the Moncton Wildcats, this Gardner McDougall was my junior coach. He called my dad and was like, "Hey, like, Alfie's turning down scholarships here," and, my dad called on the payphone back to Saskatchewan, he's like, "Are you turning" I was like I tried to lie, I was like, "No," and he's like, "Tell me the truth." I was like, "Yeah, I don't wanna go to school," and he's like, "You think I worked, 30 years in this dusty steel mill for you to, come work with me?" He's like, "I want something better," and yeah, he's like, "You're going to school," and I was like, "I'm not going to school. Gonna go play in the Western." He's like, "My son, you got" he's like, "How far is LeBret from, Selkirk?" And I was like, "I don't know, 6 hours." He's like, "Well, you got 6 hours, start heading the other way, because when I get a hold of you," it was one of those deals, and I was just
Oh,
like
yeah.
and Grant, I think, was the next guy that called. It was just like, "Alfie, you wanna go to school?" "Yep. Yep. Yeah, I'm going," and,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
Grant was really Grant worked, like, he flew out, he come and spent some time with me in LeBret, and he watched some games, and, he was the one guy that everybody came in, they talked to you after a game and kinda said their thing, but, like, Grant he's the one guy that come and watch practice, and, we went through video together, of my game kinda deal, like, he really broke it down and how he could help me, and it didn't yeah, it didn't, or it definitely helped, like, knowing at the time he had Dunham and Snow, both were in the NHL, he recruited Mike Richter at Wisconsin, so he had a pedigree of goalies in the NHL at that time, so that definitely helped, but, yeah, then we just kinda went from there. I visited, and, I didn't even see a game. We hit a snowstorm, good old Northeast, right? They had a snowstorm up in Maine. I got stuck in Boston for the night. So I was flying in to watch a game on a Saturday, and the game, I didn't get to see it. So I flew in on a Sunday, but they took me to a women's basketball game, and that's back when Cindy Blodgett was the thing there,
Yep.
Joe, and, she was
Yep.
like an icon in Maine, and it was pretty much sold out for a women's basketball game at the Alphon, and then they just said, "Alright, like, it's like this times 2 for hockey." And I was just like
And we'll be wearing those colors too, which I'm sure factored in.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was like yeah, then that I flew home, and the old see Sean Walsh there, my old coach, he basically was like, "I'll know if you're serious about your career by the time you get home." And I flew home, I thought about it, and as soon as I touched down back in Saskatchewan, I was like, "Yeah, I wanna go to Maine." So I
Wow.
That's
Well,
followed
it's
them.
awesome.
kind of funny that you talk about things happen for a reason. Anyone who has ever had Grant Stanbrook in their lives, is so much better off for it. And, he is like the guru of all gurus. He'll always Grant's in his 80s, and he's
Yeah, he's 87, I think.
yeah, and he's living in
Naples.
Florida,
Yeah,
and, like, he's a legend, but, unfortunately, a lot of people have never heard about him,
yeah,
younger
yeah,
people, but
yeah.
Google him and, but, you can only learn so much from that, but if you've ever had him come into your life in any way, I'll get on the phone with him, and it's minimum 1 hour on the
Oh,
phone,
yeah.
minimum.
I get calls at 10 o'clock,
Yep.
and it's like clockwork, and I look at my phone, and I'm like, "Ah, did I pick it up? Because if I pick it up,
Yeah, yeah, and you
I'll
can't
literally show
help
my
it.
wife sometimes. I'm like, "Look," and she's like, "I'm going to bed,"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and she knows I'm gone. I'll go downstairs, and he wants to know, like, especially I think I told you, Joe, like, especially when Bishop and Darling and Howard were all in the NHL together, like, he
Yep,
would watch all those games,
yep.
he'd break them down, and then he'd call me at 10 o'clock. He wanna know what do you think they were thinking on that play or this, or why would he play it this way? I'm like, "I don't know, Grant, like, I'm not playing," you know?
Well,
But that's just how he was,
I'll get
he just
a quick Grant Sandberg story. This is in the middle of the gold medal game, right? and I'm not feeling well, so I'm kind of out of it, right? But I did get up and watch the third period of that game. But Grant calls me, and early in the second period, and I could not take his calls, right? So I'm on the phone with him, and he says, "Hey," he says, "I'm watching the gold medal game." He said, "You've got to call so and so with the Olympic team because Bennington never gets set for any shots, and they got to know that, right? And they got to be
Oh, yeah.
told that, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I see the same thing you're seeing." He says, "But he never gets set for shots, so." And he had a remedy for that, how to beat him, and you
Oh,
got
yeah.
to get that message to Hellebuck, or his coaches, and let them know. And I,
Yeah.
you know, uh,
That
that's Grant, right?
that is, yeah.
Right, right. And but he's a brilliant mind, even at the age that he's at. Um, and the thing is, when he was 75, you would shake his hand, and the grip was so strong it would
Oh,
bring you
yeah.
to your knees, like
He
phenomenal
was he
physical
was like
condition.
iron, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he did the same thing. I was with him in Naples during the playoffs, and Monty was coaching. This is before Monty was a head coach, this is a few years ago. Monty was assistant in St. Louis with the
Yep.
Blues,
Yep.
and, we're watching the game on TV, and it's like defense makes a bad play, ends up in the back of the net. All of a sudden, I just see him, he's looking, he's on his phone, and he's like, "Monty, Grant," and I'm like, "What are
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
doing? He's on the bench."
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
he left a voicemail. Hey, the D's toe caps can't be that way. And if he would have had his stick palm up, it was one of those deals. And then he hung up. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, he'll get the message.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But anyway, so you're getting an idea, Gary, of what this one man, the impact he had. Garth Snow, Mike Dunham, they credit him. They said, and anyone that doesn't like Grant, which I don't know many people that don't like him, but if there's an individual that doesn't like Grant, they're X'd out in their minds. Like, I don't like that guy. Like that's how much Grant means to so many people over the years. And you know what? We got to get him on this podcast. So
I was
Yeah,
about to
you'd
say,
love
Coach,
it.
I don't know how he hasn't come up yet because he sounds like the perfect guest. There's people
Oh,
like that in the fabric of every great sport that have, spider webs that connect all people to each other.
a good way to
Like,
put
like
it.
the hockey world called him the Ghost. Like that was his nickname, the Gray
Yep.
Ghost.
Yep.
Like, just think about that. Like to
Right
get a
on.
nickname as a scout, like
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
because like when I come out in Western Canada, like guys will see my logo and the old timers will come up to me like, "Does that old guy for Maine, is he still around?" I'm like, "Who?" "The guy who wore the," I'm like, "Grant Stanbrook?" "Yeah, I don't remember his name, but he
Yeah.
always had a gray trench coat." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's Grant,"
The Ghost.
and they just like, "That guy freaking worked," and that was he worked. He
He
was a
would want.
guy that would watch a game in
Yeah.
Olds, Alberta, and then drive 10, 12 hours in a snowstorm to get a jump on someone else
Yep.
and watch.
Yep.
And then, and that's why people respected him. And then probably why people didn't like him is because
Yeah.
he just outworked them, And
He would go on the road, Alfie, before you were there. When he was first hired by Sean Walsh at Maine, Grant Stanbrook would just disappear for like a month, and no one knew where he was. The head coach didn't know where he was, but he was out there getting players, and he got him. He got these guys, and it got to the point where Sean Walsh, the head coach at Maine, a legendary coach, he wouldn't even bother anymore. He didn't want to know where he was. He kept track of things that were right in front of him in Orono, Maine, but he let Grant do his thing.
yeah,
And
yeah.
he didn't monitor him. He just let him go and let Grant go. But he would be gone for weeks and weeks. No one knew when he was coming back.
Well, he told me once that he'd rented a car. This is when they first start allowing remember you didn't get billed like for like your miles.
Yeah,
And he flew into BC,
yeah.
somewhere say Vancouver, drove all the way across to Thunder Bay, Ontario, and then
Oh, wow.
drove back and then turned his car in and they were just like
A
he threw
billion.
on like yeah, he threw on like 15,000 kilometers, and the guy was like, what the frig, and
Yeah, yeah,
they're like
yeah,
pissed at him because
yeah,
he was gone watching hockey. That's just how he
yeah.
was.
He was busy. So
Yeah.
anyway, so Garrick, so you
Yeah,
gotta
that sounds
that
like an
dumb
omnipresent man we have to talk to, coach. Have to
yeah,
get him on here.
yeah. So anyway, we'll get back to Alfie. Go ahead.
Uh, I just wanted to ask, what's it like to be back at Maine? I mean, obviously you went there for a period of time, and then we're across a few professional hockey leagues before coming back. What's it like to be back there now? What's different in a good way, a bad way, or maybe just a different way since you played there?
Um, Alls I could tell people is I caught lightning in a bottle. I really did. To be able to go back like that, like what Maine gave me everything, right? It gave me my pro career. It gave me my wife. It gave me my 3 kids, my in-laws, all the wonderful people up there I've met. Like Maine hockey is literally given me my life. So to be able to go back, coach there, I'm the luckiest man in the world. I really am. So, um, I tell people yeah, I kind of speechless at times when I think about it. Like I have not moved, knock on wood, from the house we built when I was playing pro hockey, right? We summered in Maine, so my wife's a Mainer, and we built a home where she grew up. I'm like a stone's throw from my in-laws where we built our house. So that was our home in the summer, and then you go off during hockey season and come back, and I got a job with the Coyotes. Their development or their American League team was Portland, Maine. So I worked for Portland for a year. And then the next year I started volunteering at UMaine, and then it turned into a full-time thing. And yeah, it's like to be able to coach at your alma mater. Um, like I said, it's everything. So you want nothing but the best for that place because it deserves it. The people of Maine deserve it. They've been through a lot here in the last probably 20 years. So we kind of felt like we got it back on track for a couple years this year. Obviously, not making the tournament, and getting knocked out in quarters, a down year, but you know, we're working our butts off here to hopefully get right back on track for next year. So, but
Yeah,
it's I like I said, lightning in a bottle.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, from the goaltending standpoint, and this is for the younger goalies that might or might not listen, but when you are going after a goalie, um, what do you personally look for? What strikes you as something I got to have this guy? What do you like? What do you look for?
I think net presence is a big thing. Just how they present. Are they covering a lot in that? And they don't have to be big. Like some guys just do a good job or presenting well. Skating athleticism is really big for me. You got to have some kind of pop. Because I just feel the difference makers could just get the pucks that other guys can't. And then your guy has it. Obviously, the brains, right? You got to have hockey IQ,
Yeah,
and then some attributes we'd look for is like drive. Is a kid determined? Is he a good teammate? Right? Like what's his bounce back ability? So I'm trying to look at things that maybe he might be a little weaker at. Can we fix those or can we help him get better at those?
yeah,
But at the end of the day, if they have to be driven, right? They have to be. We don't like to use the word coachable, but you want a guy that wants to be coached and can take, because I'm not the easiest sometimes. They could take the message out of the coaching, like because sometimes as coaches we get, I know I can get on the probably the negative side at times. It's like, and I got to remind myself and the kids, like, hey, just don't listen to the way it's delivered. Just listen to the message, right? Because the way I deliver it might be not the greatest sometimes because I'm passionate about what I do, and then I think it adds a little more of what Maine hockey means to me. So when I see our goalies faltering, like you try not to make it personal, but it gets personal,
yeah,
and so sometimes I have to take a step back and remember like, okay, I'm not playing anymore.
Yeah.
It's not, but that happens. It's like the competitor and what Maine hockey means, to me and to the state, it gets personal at times. So I got to remind myself, but then I'm like, hey man, like I know I went at you, but just listen to the message, not the way it was delivered. So
Yeah, that's a good
It's a
line.
tough job because they need to know you care as much as they do.
yeah, for sure. And then they need to know I got their back and I'm gonna if we go back, like going back to Grant, what made him really special is Grant made you feel like you were his favorite. And
Yeah.
I'm sure Joe feels that way when he talks to him. And I know if you were to ask Jimmy Montgomery would say he's Grant's number one.
Oh,
But
no question. No
but
question.
then so would Paul Correa,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
so would Steve Correa. I think I'm Grant's favorite. The way he talks to me, the way he advises me on things, the stories we talk about. But then I'm sure Chris Chelios feels the same way when they talk and Mike Richter. Like it's just that's his gift.
Yep.
And that's something I
That's a
always try
gift.
to like
Yeah.
take away is like that's the human side of it that he's so good at, right? And that I strive to be. It's like I gotta be like really good human for these people. Like we get to help shape these guys' lives. So it's
Yeah. The
so
the
that's
position
what you're always trying to do.
is tough enough, right? And you need that presence, someone like Grant, in your life, or someone like you, or someone like me, someone who has a bit of a gift to be able to deliver a message in a certain way where the guy knows, okay, someone has my back. Yeah. And, I've always believed, you know, what you say, when you say it, and how you say it are three critical deals, really
For
are
sure. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
important. And you
Yeah,
can,
that's what makes the best people or coaches is they have that uncanny ability to say the right things at the right times.
yeah,
And they
yeah,
just,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
And how important it is that you've been there and done what they're trying to do too, because I mean, especially in the NHL, you talk about Monty. We've talked about Monty a couple of times. How much of a easier job is it for Monty to go in there and explain and talk about what needs to be done when he's been there and done that at times on different varying levels? I mean,
it
that's the type of
helps.
trust you can't
Yeah. Yeah.
start with unless you have that background.
Yeah, it definitely helps. It just because I'm trying to lean on my experiences to help these kids. And then the hope is that they're buying the Kool-Aid, right? Because they know you've had to grind through it, right? So, but at the same time, you try to. I think we got to try our best to make it about them, right? Because it is about them
It
at the end
is.
of the day, right?
Yeah,
It's about
yeah, yeah,
those kids. I had my time, my fun, but it definitely helps when I can draw on experiences. Like when we sit in that coach's office and we're talking about things, and I'll just tell them about an experience I had, right? And when we're making a decision on something, it's like I'll just tell you if we're going that way as a goalie, I would have been pissed, or I would because I've done everything you're asking, and now this is going to happen, or vice versa. So it's definitely helps having that experience for sure, but it's
yeah,
not the end all be all. There's great coaches out there that don't have it. I think that the best coaches are the best communicators. They just and they prepare and they work hard. And that's like I was really lucky here at Maine, like Sean Walsh, our head coach, that's what he did. He was so prepared and he was such a good communicator. And he knew he was so ahead of his time because you know, he knew if he can yell at a guy in front of someone, or if he had to take that same kid and tear a strip on him off him, but behind closed doors. So we had an example. We had this kid, super talented, and he come in and he gave it to him in front of the team, and the kid just went into a puddle, couldn't play the rest of the game.
Oh,
And then Walshy put that in his bank, and then kid's having another rough game, goes in, hey, let's go. Takes him, and Joe's been in the old Alphon takes him, and the weight room was literally
Right.
it literally, like, you can spit as far as the weight room. Took him into the weight room and closed the door and absolutely tore a strip off this kid.
Yeah.
And the whole room heard it. We all heard, like, him just giving it to this kid, and while she slams the door, goes down the hallway, muttering, the kid comes out, he's got a grin on his face, like, "Screw him," and sits back down, and the kid was dynamite,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But he understood, like, he just understood people, and he's like, "Okay," like, but it was no different than if he would have ripped that kid in front of all of us. Like, we all heard it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that kid knowing he was safe behind closed doors getting ripped with Walshy, he was totally okay with that.
That's such a skill too. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like the Herb Brooks in
yeah,
Miracle, you calling
sure.
him a candy ass
Yeah,
when he's hurt. It
yeah,
knowing guys and their threshold for what they can and cannot handle is such a big deal. And you're talking about communicator, like that. I mentioned that it's nice to have that trust from playing, but it's also something you can develop very quickly
for sure. Yeah,
if you have a mind for it. So
yeah,
I
Yeah.
just had one
and
more
that's
question. I
yeah.
don't know about you,
Go ahead.
Coach. Uh, I was going to ask, what was the 98-99 season like for you? Because I've been on the periphery of some championship teams at little league level for myself and then the world stage for my dad. And looking at the 93 roster, 41-1-2 record, maybe the greatest college hockey team of all time, your guys' story was a little different. You had to grind it out. So I just wanted to know what that was like.
Yeah, we were just a bunch of lunch pail kids, right? We were literally the land of the misfit toys. That's what they called it. Like we were just a credit card hockey team. We had a lot of guys that weren't on scholarships because they had a scholarship issue. Like when we went there, I think they were short 4 scholarships. So Grant and Sean had to like slap this team together, and you had some really good players playing on no scholarships and we all could have went somewhere else. Like when I went to Maine, like they got in trouble, would have been at Christmas time of like of the year I was going to come in that next fall, right? So they got in trouble, lost scholarships, Coach Walsh got suspended for a year, like all this stuff happened, and so our letter intents got ripped in half. So I could have left, and I was gonna leave. Like I got tons of schools called. I kind of was like, well, Dad, like they're not gonna be able to play in the tournament. They can't play in playoffs for a while.
Wow.
And he was just like, "Hey man, you shook that guy's hand. You told him you're coming, you're going. Tough beans." And that was that and just saying that, that's everybody was like that. Like all the guys that came, we were just loyal to Grant and Sean and Maine hockey. And
Yeah.
Hard to find nowadays in the days of NIL
yeah,
and
but
transfer
every one of
portal.
those guys were just special people. Obviously we got to know their family, special family, like when you look at their parents and that, and it was just a special group that just came together, and we had that underdog mentality. We wanted to, we had 5 seniors that all could have left, right? They all came back and they stayed and they stuck it through. In 2 years, they couldn't play in the NCAAs, like, because they were suspended. And so it was kind of the one crack for them. And we just kind of rallied around those 5 seniors. And yeah, it all kind of came together. But it was, yeah, we were just a bunch of hardworking, good kids,
You
and
said it, lightning in a bottle at one point.
yeah, and we still get together. Like we get together every 5 years. We do something. We travel. So it just tells you what kind of group we have. Like Grant was, 80, 86 at the time. Like we flew to Naples. That's where we hosted our 5th year. I guess it would have been our 25th anniversary. We did it. We did it in Naples, knowing like him and his like he could travel, but his wife Joy can't. So we're like, all right. So we took the party to him
That's
and
awesome.
spent 3 days with Grant and Joy, and everything was basically designed around them to spend time with them. And that's a testament to our 5 captains, right?
That's hockey.
Yeah.
That's the kind of kids we had. And we
No
still
question.
have, obviously we're really close, like our group. And yeah, it's just, brothers for life kind of deal.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know any of that stuff about the preseason. That's crazy. So many guys could have left. I mean, like I mentioned, the '93 team. You look at that roster and you recognize a lot of names if you're a casual hockey fan. The '99 roster, no shade to you guys, but it's not as familiar.
No. Oh, no.
But that's even
We
better.
had more guys. I think more guys played the NHL on our '99 team than the '93 team.
Really?
It's crazy, yeah. Or
That's
more
so
more
funny.
more contracts signed, or there's something
Yeah.
little, but they're obviously they're players. Like we're talking Paul Kariya, Gar Snow, Mike Dunham, Monty. There's guys that had some great NHL careers, right? Whereas I don't think anybody on our team, I'd say majority of us got like cup of coffee. I think the only guy was like Nico Dimitriakos
Yeah.
and Dougie Janik had decent NHL careers, but majority of us were just kind of one and done, flash in the pan kind of deal. But yeah, it's
That
you
makes
know,
the national championship an even better story, though. It really
yeah,
does.
no, it's like you said, it's yeah, we're just happy for more than anything for the state of Maine. Like it's like Joe knows, like he's a Mainer, like it means so much to those people, and that was a big thing last year, winning a Hockey East championship. Like that's my first championship as a coach there, and just to be able to do that for those people
Yeah.
and what it meant to them, it's like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I got my start there,
Yeah,
really. And
yeah,
I will be forever grateful. No different than Monty will be, or you, or all the other, now hundreds of guys that have gone through the program. And I will always be grateful of what I was able to, the chance that I was given. And by Sean Walsh, Sean Walsh was a very misunderstood individual sometimes, right?
yeah,
That's the way
for
to
sure.
put it. But
Why?
so
Yeah,
far ahead of his time. You nailed it. You nailed it. And but yeah, I mean, you need once in a while you need to implant a great person, a great mind, someone different. And when they got him in 1984 from Michigan State, Sean was on the staff at Michigan State, and they were able to land him. That really was the beginning of it all,
yeah,
really. So
yeah.
there's no other way to look at it.
Well, that was all I really had, Coach. I had a bunch of other follow-up questions about places you lived and what it was like going all over the country playing hockey, but I don't wanna keep it too
This
much
this
longer.
might be this might we might have to do a part 2
Follow-up at some point.
with Alfie.
Anytime, guys. I'm easy, like you said. So it was yeah, no, it's real
Well,
real
thank you
pleasure.
so much, Alfie, for all the time. I appreciate it, man.
No,
Yeah.
man, appreciate it. Thanks,
Alfie,
Joe.
yeah, Alfie, I thank you very much for coming on with us. It's an honor, and I think we need part 2. I think we need.
Anytime, boys. Anytime. I appreciate the time. Joe, take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Great to meet you. Garrig, and all the best, you guys. And then yeah, we'll see you guys in the future.
All right,
We'll
buddy.
talk soon. Go Black Bears.
All
All
right.
right, take
All
care,
right.
guys.
Take
Bye
care.
now.
See you.